Hi there. Come on in. I'm Fred Trost, and you know, a lot of you call me, write me, and they say, Fred, what should I do this weekend? What should I do in the middle of March? Should I go hunting, fishing, or what? Well, you know, I wished I could tell you. We took our cameras out a couple weeks ago to Houghton Lake to catch some of the last ice when the fishing is always the best. It wasn't last ice by a long shot. The weather took a turn for the worse. We've had winter ever since. And we're also going to take you this evening snowshoe rabbit hunting. There's still 2 weeks of that left. We don't have as much snow on the ground as you see right there, but we're going to have a rabbit hunting story. We're also going to find out the answer to a question several of you viewers wrote in, and they said, Fred Trost, you were fishing illegally with 4 lines in the water when you went up to the UP. Would I do that? Would I be illegal on camera? Well, we're going to find out the answer to that question and a lot more. So you stay tuned. It's Thursday night, time for Michigan Outdoors.
From the rugged shore and woodlands of the north, it's history of copper mines and iron ore, the Great Lakes fisheries. To the farmlands of the southern counties, we'll look around again at all that waits the sportsman in the state of Michigan.
Snowshoe rabbits are creatures of the North Woods where there's generally a lot more snow. You have to have a pair of snowshoes oftentimes to go in those woods, and a good set of beagles is also necessary. Would you say, Bob?
Oh, it absolutely is necessary, especially when you got some snow. They can push that rabbit around fast. We went up with guide Phil Petz and a couple of guys from Detroit News, Jim Vesley, Herb Bolt, and the Ritchie kids were there. A number of us just having a good community sort of snowshoe rabbit hunt up near Rogers City.
Well, that was a good time, I know, even though you didn't do a great deal on getting a lot of rabbits. But you sit and wait and let the dogs do the work.
We just heard the dog. Now, the guide, Phil Petz, has got us placed strategically along the perimeter of this swamp, and he expects that the snowshoe should run out this way when being chased by the dog. So Herb's over there, I'm another 20 yards down, and it looks like if we can get another bark or two and that dog can get it, there he goes. Okay, dog's got one rolling hot right now. It's not coming our way, but we'll be waiting right here for when that rabbit gets here.
Of course, the rabbits were able to maneuver on top of the snow easily with their big back feet, and the dogs...
Well, there were plenty of rabbits and plenty of dogs, Fred, but they just couldn't move very well.
Plenty of snow was the problem. Well, there's the snowshoe rabbits with their big hind feet, and they're white only in the winter.
That's right, and you can see really down into that fur right there that they're really mostly brown down below
Underneath.
the tips of the fur.
And of course, that will change to a normal brownish colored rabbit just coming up in a month or so.
It's starting to change right now.
The tips of the ears are always black and dark, as well as the eyes, which are black, and which gives hunters who don't have dogs a chance to spot the rabbits in the snow when they're hunting on foot.
That's what still hunters will be looking for, those little patches of black.
Good meat in the pot, snowshoe rabbits, and right now there is some snowmobiling up in the Upper Peninsula, especially a little bit in the northern lower. We'll be reporting on that in a few minutes. But now we're going to turn our attention to ice fishing, what was supposed to have been last ice. We'll go from the rugged shores and woodlands of the northern rabbit country to the frozen surface of Houghton Lake, where Ron Reed from the Lake Association is drilling a hole through what was supposed to be last ice, the best fishing of the year just before the ice melts. But Mother Nature pulled a switch on everybody with that false start on what we thought was an early spring. Ice fishermen are hovering over the holes out here on Houghton Lake. Nobody's in shanties because shanties have primarily been taken off the ice. We thought last ice was upon us a few days ago. Most people did remove their shanties, except we're standing by the last one here on the lake, which happens to be a dangerous situation and a violation of the law. You can see, Ron, that the fellow does not have his name on his shanty. You're supposed to have it where?
All 4 sides, 3 inches high letters.
And this fellow either took them off or didn't have them on in the first place, which is number 1, violation of the law. Number 2 is his shanty went through the ice, which you can say wasn't his fault.
I can't say that.
Can't say that.
No.
You have to keep an eye on the weather, on the conditions, and your shanty is your responsibility.
Absolutely.
If the conservation officers find out who owns this, what will they do?
I'm sure they'll write him a ticket.
Okay, and it's his responsibility to do something, or will the COs come in and haul this out of the water or tow it away?
I don't know.
Well, that's up to them.
That's
But this could provide sort of a hazard. It's a hazardous situation now. I can't really walk too close to this because what happens is, on a warm day, the sun beats down on the roof of the shanty, on the walls of the shanty, and will actually heat the water around the outside.
Yep. And it'll eat a hole right through. You get a little bit of wind and it swirls the water around it. It's just like running cold water on an ice cube.
And it just melted. And it evidently melted around the shanty, and the shanty went through. Now this ice, one thing you have to watch about shanties like this, the ice is thin all around the shanty going back underneath. I can see right here it's fairly thick, but out in that slick spot there, it would be dangerous. What happens is the water that's melted with the wind action puts it out underneath the ice, so it's actually quite thin, so I'm going to step back from here. But this is a law violation and something that has to be watched, and whatever you do, if you find a shanty like this on the ice, don't monkey around it, because it's thin ice all the way around.
Well, last ice is what we were looking for, but I have to warn all of you that last ice is more dangerous even than first ice, because the ice has been rotting, it has weak spots, it's been thawed, rained on, snowed on, then refrozen, but underneath, those fish are hungrier and more active than any time during the winter. Pike are on the prowl because their spawning activity is not far off, so they're starting to feed heavier right now than any time since last fall. With the days growing longer, the sunlight shines through the ice onto the plants and microorganisms, and really the lake becomes a lot more active. Pike season, however, is closed now because of the imminent spawning of northerns, but panfish are active and eager to take a bait. We may not have had last ice, but here's last pike just before the season closed at the end of February.
Can you see right here, see the line moving? Can you see that moving around right there? See it going? Okay, that means the pike is probably swimming off slow. Here, hold the mic, Bob, because I'm gonna pull him.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, he's moving.
Okay,
I'm gonna give him a yank.
Dick, move off here. Okay. You got him tightened
I
down?
yeah. There he is.
Okay, you got him?
Yep.
Okay.
That doesn't feel too bad, frankly.
Doesn't
Ho, look at him. Here he comes.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. Hey.
All right. We may have to get the tape out for this one, too.
Yeah, it looks pretty close to 20 inches.
It sure does.
But that's a northern pike. That's the third one we've caught here. See the treble hook. You can see right here, it catches generally in the corner of his mouth, which is what happened right there.
Uh-huh.
He's still got the minnow in his mouth.
And you aren't using a wire leader at all, either.
No wire leader. I think you catch more fish without him. But you see, the minnow is now free. Well, it's hooked on his teeth in here. Ah!
I don't
Gotta make a
think
little-
you should do that.
Little pause right there. Okay, but he was hooked pretty well in the corner of the mouth, and that's when the fish are running, and as long as they're going away from you, set the hook. Well, that's our third one.
Well, let's get a couple more.
Well, we weren't too pleased with the fact that the weather took a turn for the worse, extending the ice many weeks from when we had it scheduled, at least last ice. But for us, that also turned out to be the last pike of the season. Lakes will take on a whole new complexion in a few weeks as we say farewell to winter ice fishing on Michigan Outdoors. Lots of surprises in the weather. I mean, I wouldn't even dare to try to predict it even for tomorrow. Getting ready for spring is something anybody can do in Michigan Outdoors, from young and old alike. That's what we learned at our Sportsman's Banquet, so let's go to there right now for our trophy report.
Ron. Now we're getting down to the big lake trout. I mean the really big 23-pound, 4 ounces, Clyde Van Eaton. And Clyde got his fish mounted. I think Clyde was in our Club Digest issue or two ago. Clyde is from Madison Heights, and he was fishing off Mason County.
This shows what an 80-year-old person can do.
80 years old?
Yeah.
That's right. It was on Father's Day?
I caught it on Father's Day.
How about that? Clyde Van Eaton caught this fish on Father's Day. He's 80 years old, 23 pounds, 4 ounces, the 5th largest lake trout taken in Michigan in 1983. Congratulations, Clyde. That's great. Pick him up like a trophy. Jason, my man.
Okay, Jason. Here he is.
Okay. Caught it on the Osable backwaters on a Rapala. You got a picture of it here, right?
Boy, that's
We're going to put that on Michigan Outdoors.
almost as long as he is.
Yeah, that is. Hey, those are great tennis shoes. Wait till you see the trophy report and see his tennis shoes in this. These are great. Okay. You caught it on a Rapala trolling, 9:30 in the morning. Put up a good fight?
Yep.
That's all one fish, isn't it?
Yep.
Looks like two fish here almost. Well, that's a terrific... Au Sable backwaters, there's a lot of those big channel cats back in there. Is that the biggest fish you ever caught?
Yep.
Who told you to say that?
My dad.
Oh, okay. He does have a vocabulary. You like fishing a lot?
Yep.
I knew you'd say that. Okay, congratulations, Jason.
Jason, get your picture.
That's great. Here's your picture. But we'll put that on the trophy report. Now, Andy. I have a fellow out there who wrote me a letter, and Andy, you wrote to me and you said you, Fred Trost, were wrong. You were in violation of the law. Go ahead, Ed.
Here it comes,
Read
Fred.
the accusations.
Alrighty. You guys really goofed this time. You were fishing from an ice shanty in which you were spearing for pike. The law only allows 2 lines per person. In my opinion, you had 2 lines in the water for chumming, 1 fake minnow and 1 live one. You had a spear, which counts as a line, and you had an ice pole with a grub for another line. At last count, that makes 4. Sorry, guys.
Well, Andy, you count well. You count well, but the law is a little longer than just 2 lines in the water. Let's review the tape and review what I was doing, and I'll read you the law as we go. I'll explain it to you. True, the decoy was on a line attached to the decoy in the water, but no hooks, no way of catching a fish. That does not count as a fishing technique. That's just to attract fish. Now, my decoy was on a treble hook. That does count on a line, Andy. That's 1. The spear, which I was using, was on a line also, but that does not count as a line. It's not fishing with hook and line, so that doesn't count. But my third ice fishing rig, which had a little hook on it and a teardrop, did count. That's 2 lines I was using fishing techniques. We had 6 tip-ups set out there. 4 of us had licenses, so my 2 lines in the water, 6 tip-ups, that was legal. And according to the conservation officer who showed up and checked me, he said we were clean.
Also, according to Chief of the Enforcement Division of DNR, Frank Apolka, he says we were clean, and it looks like Andy goofed. You didn't,
Well,
Fred.
I tell you, I can't blame him, though. The law says 2 lines, and there were 4 lines I had that could have been in the water.
There's just a lot more to the law that Andy didn't read. So.
The law book is about that thick, Andy, and we have to read all of it for this show. You know, this is the time of year when deer are coming out on the edges of the roads. Dogs are becoming a problem. Everybody should keep their dogs in, and especially when the fawns are dropped later in May and early June. Last year, Glenn Dutterer, who was on the show, brought a fawn that had been just the day before attacked by dogs, and we taped it. This fawn did survive, and we're going to have the rest of the story starting next week.
Drop from exhaustion and confusion, but I don't think it'll
Boy,
willingly lay down.
And this is what happens when dogs get at a baby deer. Boy. Now, it's been tranquilized for how long? 2 hours?
About 2 hours, yes.
Oh, poor thing. Well, you can't keep it tranquilized forever.
No, we're going to let it come out of the comatose state that it's in, and as soon as we can, we're going to try and get it on bottled milk, and
Oh, we might as well just let it go. What are its chances of surviving?
well, if it doesn't get infection doesn't set in, I'd say its chances are excellent. But I'd say there's a good chance that infection could set in, and once it starts, there wouldn't be any way we could keep it from getting worse.
Well, this is a little wildlife sketch, sort of a surprise thing that came upon us here as this fawn is coming out of its tranquilizers. Will you feed it bottled milk?
Well,
soon?
yes, and what we'll use is the calf replacer. That seems to work very nicely, and we'll get it on that as soon as it can start to suckle, and that'll be a little while yet.
Now, I hope our folks that are watching this don't think that this is what it's like to have a little baby fawn. I mean, they do panic.
Oh, they do panic. They do injure themselves. You know, to get them to urinate and defecate, you have to stimulate them with a warm sponge to get them functioning normally. And you do have to get the right kind of milk replacer, and they do get sick, and it's really quite a problem. And this is a buck, so when it gets older, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
It should be wild, and it isn't, and in the fall, bucks are dangerous. Very dangerous animals if they're not afraid of people.
Well, this fawn would be a lot cuter if the dogs hadn't gotten to it. So
Yes,
I
it
hope
certainly would.
in the spring and summer that people keep their dogs enclosed, because any dog will chase deer.
Mm-hmm.
Too bad. Well, let's hope this little buck survives and it'll be in the woods this fall.